Hello. I never know if I'm like actually live or not on this thing. Doesn't really announce it. You are going live. I see some people here, so I guess if you start putting comments in there, I will know if I am live. Oh, I wonder if I can make myself more beautiful with the filters on this thing. Ah, I don't think I can. Hmm. No, no, pass. How about this? Ooh, this. Ooh. How about that? Don't, no. There we go. Now we're talking. Oh, dance party. Here we go. Dream. Glamour. I need glamour. Glamour. Good morning. Let's see. How about this one? Oh, God. Yeah. Here we go. Let's do a little bit of sepia. Hello, Jess. Ooh, sketch. There we go. How about this, guys? What? That's just a, if I was going to tell like a creepy story, that would be a really good one. Hi in Michigan. Hi, Rainbow Z. Thank you. Happy Sunday, Angie. Oh, let's try this one. No. Oh, I kind of like that one there. I love that your name is Penny because I recently lost a pet that was named Penny and she was a min pin mix. I know what min pins are. I used to be a vet tech. And by the way, I was named after a dog. I always used to introduce myself to my patients by saying, my name is Penny. My parents didn't think very much of me. Or no, my parents didn't think I was worth very much. But the reality is, I was named after a dog. Okay, I went with no filter, guys. And, oh, hi, Rosalind in South Africa. So when I get my facelift in June, I'm going to chronicle my journey. And then I'll be able to put no filter on and be confident. How is everybody doing this Sunday morning? Thanks for joining me. I am going to be talking about death and dying this morning and life. If you want any questions that you have about death and the dying process, please feel free to put them in the comments. I also want to take a moment to plug the retreat that I will be doing with hospice nurse Julie in September in the mountains of North Carolina. It's going to be a very, very fun event. We're going to be talking about death and dying, obviously, and we'll be working on helping people fill out their advanced directives with the 5 Wishes Guide. So if you are into retreats, it's going to be a great, great one. And the link for that is in my bio. I love when you guys are together, when you two are together. So do I. Absolutely love getting together with my bestie, Julie. Well, hello in Fruitland, Idaho. I volunteer at a hospice mailing letters to grieving families. Oh, coffee is necessary now. Thank you so much for volunteering for hospice. OnlyFans when? When? 30 years ago. I think OnlyFans is pretty much for, isn't it pretty much for like showing off your TNA, like risque pictures and videos? I watched the OnlyFans documentary on Netflix and that seems to be what it's all about. And I just don't think I'm going to be going there. I mean, there's always people who are, you know, fetishize anything, including 60-year-old women with their hanging body parts. But yeah, I don't want to be seen like that. Yes, Boone County is beautiful. Okay, I haven't been to Boone County. That is where the retreat is going to be held in Boone, North Carolina, which is in the mountains. I'm very excited. My daughter lives in North Carolina down on the coast, and I'm actually going to bring her with me. So that is going to be really fun. Hello, thanks for your videos. Thank you, Claudia, for saying so. Enjoy your shorts. Takes a special nurse to do hospice. I am grateful for the hospice nurses we had. For Dad, I couldn't do it. Thank you, Elizabeth. How am I doing today? I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful day here in the mountains. And always fun to be on YouTube Live. I appreciate people on YouTube Live and how much nicer you are than those on TikTok, which might be going away anyway. Thank you, Nurse Penny, for all of your videos. I work as a private in-home palliative hospice end-of-life caregiver. And I recommend your videos to clients and especially their families for questions. Thank you. I hear that sometimes from my colleagues and from other hospice professionals that they use my videos for their patients. And I always think that's really great. I love it. Congrats on 23K on Facebook. Thank you, Megan. My Facebook page was starting to grow back in December and it got hacked. It was my own fault. I fell victim to a ploy and they got a hold of my page and they posted a bunch of really nasty videos on it. And Facebook was able to unhack the account and restore me as the admin, but they've never been able to get me access to the page. So it's still out there with these dumb videos on it. And it had 21,000 followers on it. And I finally decided to make a new Facebook page, actually only just a few weeks ago. And it's grown and it's 23,000 followers. It's bigger than the other one. It is not monetized. The other one was, and I don't know if it'll be monetized, but now I'm trying to get Facebook to delete the old one because those nasty videos are still on there and they don't represent me or my brand. I love the pink in your hair. Thank you so much. I'm 31 studying radiology technician, so the hospice knows I am passionate for the field, even though hospice doesn't x-ray. You know, we do sometimes. If we do, it's usually portable x-ray, and you may also x-ray hospice patients. I would say you probably will because sometimes people, many times, hospice patients fall and they end up going to the ED because there's a suspected broken bone and they need to make an informed decision about how they want to proceed. If they're not a surgical candidate, usually it's going to be a, you know, like we're not going to even do this, but sometimes people may still potentially be a surgical candidate. It also can inform the care that they get if they have a fractured hip and, you know, they know that that's what's going on and they need to maybe focus on comfort focused care for that person. They will do that. So you may definitely encounter hospice patients. Recently, my cousin passed away. She had cancer, and your videos helped me so much. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, Vapor Spouse. I'm so happy to know it was helpful. You're amazing. TikTok is not that good. Good thing you're in YouTube. And hello from Arizona. Well, hello in Arizona. TikTok is the bane of my existence sometimes. I started on TikTok. TikTok is where I started. I have the most followers on TikTok. I have over 600,000 followers on TikTok. But the way that TikTok pushes videos out, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for it. I've had, you know, like my account has had warnings on it. I've had videos taken down. They put trigger warnings on things that they probably shouldn't. They don't monetize very well, but it has presented me with a huge opportunity to reach a lot of people. And so I do like it for that reason. But if it gets taken down, I don't know that I'll be terribly heartbroken over it. We'll see what happens. My new Facebook page is Hospice Nurse Penny, all one word. So my old Facebook page was Hospice Nurse Penny, 3 words. So if you see like if you go and you see a nasty carpet cleaning video, that's not my page. My page is Hospice Nurse Penny, all one word. Good evening, everyone from the UK. Really pleased to see everyone and grateful to Hospice Nurse Penny for her sensible, humane, and courageous content. Thank you so much, and hello in the UK. Thanks for your videos. I am an IPU hospice RN and have incorporated many of the things you teach into my own teaching. Sometimes you have to find a different way of explaining to help people. Oh, Danielle, I'm so happy to hear that. Inpatient hospice nursing was my stomping grounds and my passion. I loved inpatient hospice nursing. I learned so much and I had an amazing mentor that I always credit for pretty much everything I know about death and dying. Being at the bedside with people dying on a regular basis, really pretty much daily, you do learn so much. And I wish that all hospice nurses who work out in the field had an opportunity to even spend, you know, a few weeks in a hospice care center because you can learn so much. Hi, I love your channel so much. A friend of mine just died in hospice and your channel helps so much. Thank you. I'm so happy to know that. My home health nurse for my foot was a hospice nurse, and she tells me, interesting. Thank you for everything you do. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you. I'm hoping you're doing okay this afternoon. Hoping you have a great weekend and a day. Okay, thank you, friend Virgil Slack. Thank you for saying that. Oh, hi in Denmark. Hi, Penny. I think you do a fabulous job. Keep it up. Thank you. Yes, love the IPU. Yeah, it's amazing to work in that environment. Really a gift. And the thing about the IPU, the inpatient unit for hospice, is most hospice inpatient units are created to take patients who are a higher level of hospice care. We call GIP, general inpatient, or STIP, short-term inpatient. Really, it's meant to bring patients in who are dying, who are having symptoms that cannot be managed in their home. So the intent is to bring them into the care center, get their symptoms managed, and then take them, send them back home. However, a lot of times people at the end of life, especially people who have cancer, will have a symptom management crisis, pain or terminal agitation or nausea and vomiting, something that is unable to be managed in a different environment and needs that skilled nursing. But it's close to the end of their life when that happens. And so usually, even though the intent is for them to be stabilized and go back home, they do end up dying in the hospice care center. So really, when you work in an inpatient unit, you are seeing a lot of death and dying. And that's why I always say it's not an exaggeration when I say I've been at the bedside with literally thousands of people who were dying, and probably hundreds where I was actually in the room or in their presence for their last breath. And it's a gift. It is a gift. It's sacred. I volunteered at Kindred Hospice in 2019, Texas, but I took a census job and Kindred Hospice had shut down. What happens to the leftover patients? Every hospice that is required to have a plan for if their agency has to shut down or is shut down. They have to have a contingency plan. It's a regulation of Medicare, and all hospices that are Medicare certified, which most of them are going to be, because that's where the majority of the money for hospice comes from, is through Medicare, have to follow the same rules as everybody else. And so they have what we call regulations, conditions of participation, and they require us to have a backup plan. Like, what are we going to do with our patients if we shut down? And usually it's transfer them to another hospice agency. Husband's mom just passed away 3 weeks ago. Horrible circumstances that brought her to hospice care. ER doctor took her off BP meds without talking to us, or her nephrologist had a stroke. Oh my gosh, that's awful. Are there hospice nurses who, for instance, won't let you smoke? Is letting people do whatever makes them happy your personal thing or a policy for hospice in general? It's not a policy. And if a person is in an environment of care where smoking is not allowed, like a nursing home or a hospice care center, then it is possible that the person is not going to get to smoke. It's more of a philosophy, and hospice nurses should all be following that philosophy, which is allowing people, the autonomy to choose what they want to do. And that doesn't just include smoking cigarettes, it's smoking pot, it's drinking alcohol. It is our responsibility to ensure that we're educating them about the risks and benefits. When it comes to smoking, the biggest risk is if there is oxygen in use, there's a risk of fire. And we've had that happen with many, many, many of our patients. And we never say, you can't smoke. We say, you can't smoke with oxygen on. You need to, take the nasal cannula off and go outside, or go at least 10 feet away or into another room, turn off your oxygen concentrator, make sure that you, shake out your jacket. Oxygen can be in your clothes. Like, do the things to be safe when you're smoking. People still will smoke with oxygen. People still cause fires. We've had it happen a number of times with our patients. But that's the biggest risk. We're not concerned about, if you have COPD and you want to smoke, I'm going to tell you this. One, you can't do it with your oxygen on. You really cannot do it with your oxygen on. It's got to be away from you. Two, you can smoke as much as you want, but understand that your symptoms are probably going to be worse because you're smoking. But if you're okay with that, I don't care. It's your choice. If it's something like smoking meth, smoking crack, we sometimes will take a little bit of a different approach to that, because that type of environment is not going to be safe for our clinicians to go into. We can't have our clinicians going into a home where people are smoking or cooking meth. That's very dangerous for them. There's also a higher chance of crime in those types of situations. Alcohol is going to be like, if you want to drink alcohol and you're using opioids, we just need to educate you about, the risk. Again, if you're going to drink a lot of alcohol and you're going to take opioids or benzodiazepines, there's a very, very huge risk with that. So we have to educate about that. Hi, Santa. Megan's saying, be sure to follow Penny on all the socials. Thank you so much, Megan. Yes. And here's some fun fact. Okay. Megan doesn't even know this yet because I haven't really said anything about it. I'm not sure how far I'm going to get into this, but one of the apps that I decided that I would download and post some videos to is Clapper, because I've heard people saying if TikTok goes away, Clapper is going to take its place because people don't like Instagram and Facebook because, Mark Zuckerberg is a douche and their support is really shitty. But anyway, so I am on Clapper now, Hospice Nurse Penny. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to keep it up. I'm not sure yet. There seems to be a few people that are migrating over. I still haven't found any of my mutuals or followers on there that I know of. And there is a lot of like videos that I would say are the more OnlyFans appropriate, TNA videos. Let's see. I was 10 years old when my grandpa died of cancer 3 years ago. I was holding his hand as he died. I remember being so mad and angry when they turned off his oxygen machine. I wish I had someone like you. Oh, Naya, I'm so happy that you're here. And I love that you're 13 and you're here. Like, it's making me verklempt because I think it's really important for young people to learn about death and dying, because I really myself struggled with death anxiety, and I know so many people do have death anxiety and a fear around death and dying, and it's because we don't talk about it enough. I want to talk to you about the oxygen machine being turned off on your grandfather. That did not cause his death. So in hospice, we use oxygen for comfort. We use it usually at a really low flow. And so when a person is on oxygen and they're dying, usually it's a nasal cannula. They don't even have a mask on their face. It's a low flow. It's not sustaining their life. It's not keeping them alive. And so when we turn it off, that isn't causing their death. That does not hasten their death. They're still dying from their disease. But we often will, families will be like, the concentrator's so noisy. The person's breathing, with the open mouth when they're dying. The nasal cannula's not doing anything. You don't want to put it in the mouth because it will dry the mouth out. And so many times we say, you turn the oxygen off. Also, people sometimes don't want it on. They'll try to take it off. They'll keep pulling it off, and the family will put it on and they'll pull it up. And it's just like this push me, pull you. It's stressful for everybody. Like, they won't keep the oxygen on. And that's really okay. It doesn't cause their death to take it off. What is your opinion on medical aid in dying? I know I want to go on my own terms. I don't have any family to make decisions if incapacitated. I hate the idea of suffering. I am very much of a proponent of medical aid in dying. I have done some work with Compassion and Choices. I volunteered for End of Life Washington. They're going to be using nurses to put in rectal catheters for rectal administration of the meds for patients who want to end their life with medical aid in dying. They don't have the program up and running yet, but they did accept me. I think it should be federally legal. I think it should be affordable and accessible for everybody who wants it. I wish the guidelines weren't quite so stringent, because people who, for example, have dementia are not able to utilize it. You do have to be determined to be decisional, and you have to have a life expectancy of 6 months or less. And people who have dementia are not decisional when they get into that 6 month or less period of time. So it's a little stricter than I would like to see. I wish that if people had dementia and knew they had dementia and wanted to, use medical aid in dying, that they could make that known and that their family could administer those medications at a predetermined point in time when they were in that life expectancy of 6 months or less. How do you deal with the losses of your patients? How do you train your resilience? So first of all, just to let you know, I am now a hospice quality manager. I am semi-retired. I only work 3 days a week. I love it. I work virtually from my cabin. I support a very large hospice agency in Washington with their quality measures. I do other things like participate as a subject matter expert in complex case reviews. But as a clinician, for me, there's a few ways that I look at it. The expectation for all of my patients is death. That's the expectation when they come onto hospice. My job is to make sure that they're comfortable, their symptoms are managed, their family is educated and knows what to expect so that they can be with their dying person without feeling afraid when they see things they have never seen before. When the person dies, if I've done all that, it's a job well done. That's not to say that it doesn't choke me up sometimes when I've lost a patient or a family. And usually that's when it's the most difficult, is when you don't have the relationship with the family anymore. Because again, death is the expected outcome with that person. You know they're going to die, but their family keeps living, and then your relationship with the family stops. When the person is dying, they get to a place where you're not interacting with them anymore, but you're still interacting with the family, and it is a very sacred time. It's a very sacred time, and so you do bond with them. So it's always kind of been for me like important to maintain my professional boundaries, maintain my emotional boundaries, and to remind myself always that this is my job. It's not about me, it's about my dying patient and their family, and keeping that in mind. And really, that's the only way that I have found that you can survive doing this type of work. Steph, you've never heard of Clapper? A lot of people haven't, which is probably why I don't have a whole lot of followers yet or views on my videos. This might sound bad, but since following Penny, I actually look forward to death. Assuming I get to have hospice and a good hospice nurse, I'm going to live it up. All the drugs. Would love to know your thoughts on miming actions. My dad was driving a forklift in a factory in his last day. Also looked like he was winding in a fishing line. He was in final stages of Parkinson's. Yeah, that's such an interesting thing. So what Rachel is talking about is miming actions. So sometimes when people are dying, they'll fish. I've seen people fishing. I've seen people sewing. I've seen people smoking. I don't know what to make of that. Another popular thing that people do, common thing that people do, is reaching into the air when they're dying. Now, for this, I always say, I think they're reaching towards those visions that they see of their deceased loved ones and pets. Because when they're visioning and they're able to tell us that they see their, whoever, dead grandma, dead mom, dead dad, dead spouse, whatever, they're oftentimes looking up or looking to the corner of the room. And so when they're reaching up during that dying process where they're not able to tell us what they're seeing or doing, I always think this is what they're doing. That's what I associate that with. But as far as this, I don't know, and it's always people who have done that thing during their life. Like, we don't see people fishing who never were fishing, or tying, I had one guy who was tying his fly lures. He had been a fly fisherman, and a woman who was embroidering, and then people who smoke. It's always something they did. So it kind of makes me wonder if they're like doing life review when they're doing these things. And those were things that during their life brought them a lot of happiness. And so they're doing that. We don't know what's going on in a person's mind when they're dying, what they're thinking about, what they're processing, or if they're doing any kind of life review. My lip is itchy. But that makes me think about like doing a video about that. I think I'm going to do that. Thanks everybody for being here today with me. I wanted to plug the retreat that Hospice Nurse Julie and I are going to be doing in September. It is going to be at the Art of Living Retreat Center in Boone, North Carolina, in the mountains. It's a beautiful place. It's an amazing place, very, very well known for putting on great retreats. They have, I guess, yoga and meditation and all kinds of things like that, which we won't be leading, but we'll probably be participating in. We will be leading a lot of discussion around end of life and grief and helping people to fill out their advance directives on the Five Wishes booklet, which Five Wishes has graciously said that they will provide for us. So if you're interested in doing a retreat in Boone, North Carolina with me and Hospice Nurse Julie in September, the link is in my bio, so you can sign up there for it. It's going to be a fun time. In Texas, assisted suicide is illegal. One young hospice patient I talked to repeatedly expressed his wish for his life to be over, and the family was told if they do something and they could be in legal trouble. Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me about Texas. I just got into a comfort hospice home and the staff and volunteers are great. I got stage 4 breast cancer, which spread. Oh, Rhonda, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I hope that your place that you're in is a good place. What happens if someone has a pacemaker defibrillator on their and they're on hospice? Great question. So a pacemaker works by strengthening the beat of the heart. So it's working with the heart. It's strengthening the beat of the heart. So when the person dies and there's no more heartbeat, it just stops working. It just stops working. But an internal defibrillator, an AICD, an automatic an automatic internal cardiac device, will shock a person as they're dying and their heart rate starts to change. It will shock them. And so what we usually do is we arrange with a cardiologist to have a tech come out and disable that ahead of time. If the person is not comfortable disabling it, then we put a big giant magnet in the home and we teach the family that, or the nurse can do it, we tape the magnet to the chest with tape, and that will temporarily disable it, and then we leave it on. We leave it on there. Hi, John Horace. Oh my God, I can imagine a hospice patient who has schizophrenia. Yeah, so can I. We recently had one. It's challenging when we have mental health patients. Oftentimes they are seeing a provider that is not their primary care provider. Sometimes they're even unknown to us. And so it can be really tricky when you have a person who has schizophrenia or bipolar disorder and they're medication dependent and they get closer to the end of life. And we have to really balance out when is a safe time for them to stop those medications, and then usually starting like the benzodiazepines in their place. Is the magnet thing policy or cardiologist recommendation, or did some smart hospice nurse come up with that? It's cardiologist recommendation. In my agency, it's a policy that every person who has an AICD gets a magnet in their home, because we've had a couple of times where we couldn't get somebody out to disable it and it shocked the patient, and it was very, very traumatic for the family to watch that happen. It does not restore life. It just shocks them, and it's very, I've never seen it, but my understanding is it's very traumatic. How strong is it? It's a big, big magnet. It looks like a donut. It's like this big around. It's pretty powerful. It's maybe not that big. It's like that big. It's very, very strong. Like you have to like pull it off the refrigerator. Strong enough to disable the AICD. As a social worker, I'm interested in moving over to hospice social work. Can you explain the difference between a hospice nurse and a social worker? So same with a nurse, same differences as far as scope of practice between any nurse and a social worker. A social worker in hospice isn't going to do any of the nursing things, like, medication administration or instruction on medication or pain assessment. You might do a pain screening. You wouldn't do a full-on pain assessment. Social workers in hospice provide a lot of resources for our families. Help with filling out paperwork, insurance paperwork, getting a notary, doing applications for Medicaid, um, helping them to find a funeral home, counseling. They do a lot of grief counseling. Hospice social workers do. Um, they do talk about advanced directives with patients and families. So visitors can't wear metal. What if someone else has a medical device or plates inside them? No, it's not that strong. It's not going to be like whoop sticking to your earrings if you walk into the room. It's strong, but it's on the person's chest, so it's not like that strong, and other people can be around it. Your credit cards won't get disabled. You know, it's like not that strong. Hey Penny, I wanted to let you know I am going to send you a video of my father visioning. I can't stay right now. Another storm is coming. I am in California. Thank you for sending me that. Please let me know in the email if I have permission to post that. I can blur his face out, but I would love to be able to do a story around that. So if there's more details, I'd love to do a story around that. And good luck in the storm. Boy, California is really getting hit with storms, and we have sunny, beautiful weather right here in Washington State, and it's great because we live on a mountain. And I've been pretty worried about our road. There has been times in the past, we have a like 3.2 mile driveway that is dirt and gravel, and we've done a lot of improvement on it, but there's been times in the past when it's washed out, and I need to leave on March 31st. I'm going to be going to Disneyland with my little grandpeeps and my son and my daughter-in-law and my oldest daughter. And I keep telling my husband, like, oh, if the road gets really muddy, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to drive my car down ahead of time and park it down there and then hike down with my suitcase. Hi, Penny. Thank you for your videos. What do you say to someone who watched their father take their last breath and is traumatized by it? So sometimes people have like this post-traumatic stress when they've been with their person who died because they didn't realize that what they saw with their person was normal. Like sometimes people will say, I saw them make a face like a silent scream. I saw them breathing like they couldn't breathe. And they don't realize that those are normal end of life things that happen, and they're not causing the person any pain or distress, or like the death rattle, the gurgling, rattling noise that people can make. You know, people will be traumatized by things that they saw their person go through because they don't know that was normal. I will never forget somebody writing a letter to my agency talking about how horrific the death experience with their mother was because they felt like she had suffered. She looked terrible. Her breathing was awful. And she sent a picture and she was like, look at this. Look at this. And those of us who reviewed the letter and the picture were all like, that's what a dying person looks like. That's what they look like when they're dying. That's not a person who's in distress. So I would say for somebody who saw their father see their last breaths, or anybody, and feels trauma about it, to learn more about the dying process and what that looks like. Because I've had people who reached out to me and said, oh my God, you really helped me because I didn't know that was normal. And here I thought my person was, you know, really suffering. And now I understand that that was normal. What's the best way to deal with relatives of a hospice patient who don't have decision-making responsibility, but who have very strong opinions about how the patient is treated? Boy, have I seen that a lot. You know, if worst comes to worst, you can always limit their access to the person. But I wouldn't start there. I would start with, especially if they're talking about things like that in front of the dying person, which is very inappropriate, or trying to coerce the person into changing their mind, I would like take them aside and explain to them that you are the person with the legal decision-making responsibility, and that you were chosen for that reason by the person or the state because you were the best person to carry out the wishes of that person. You are their spokesperson. You are speaking on their behalf, and which, by the way, doesn't happen until they're no longer able to speak for themselves. But that's why you were chosen. That's why you're the decision maker, is because you're going to make the decisions that are best for that person based on what that person wanted. And if they don't get that, and also, and by the way, and don't be like trying to insert your opinions into this situation, be it in front of the person, to the other people in the room, whatever. And if it continues, and if you cannot honor that and respect that I am making the decisions for this person based on what I know about them and what they want, then I'm going to have to ask you not to be present anymore. And you have the right to do that as the decision maker. You can say, once that person is no longer decisional, you can say, you can't visit anymore. You cannot be here anymore if that's what you're going to do. You just have to be, you just have to remember that you are the decision maker, because you are the best person to make the decisions that are right for that person based on what that person wants. You are speaking for them. So anybody else who has differing opinions, can bite me. My father went from a pacemaker to an LVAD to a heart transplant 2 years ago. He turns 53 March 26th. Oh, he's a young man. LVADs are a little bit different than AICDs, because LVADs really will, when you turn them off, people usually die quickly when they have an LVAD. So that's more of a being prepared with medications to ensure that they're comfortable when we turn it off. We don't do that very often. Yes, Penny, I will. It's really bad here. I haven't seen it yet, sent it yet, but I will. Okay, thank you so much. Hi, Penny. I love your videos so much. I'm a RMA and just got my PCA. So much love from New York. Have a great day. What's an RMA and what's a PCA? I probably know, but I'm not familiar with the acronyms. Yes, I agree. I watched my mother pass in front of me. She was throwing up blood. What does that mean? So she probably had cancer. And when people are throwing up blood, it means that something is ruptured because of the cancer, and they're throwing blood up. People who bleed out catastrophically usually die very quickly. Love watching your videos. I am a CCA, CNA, and appreciate your information so much. Thank you. I think they mean their person died traumatically. I don't know. Like, I actually have recently only seen one person who died from trauma-related injuries. He was in a car accident. I was on the scene before EMS arrived. He was dying when I got there. There was no blood. He was going through the same dying process that a dying person on hospice goes through. And it was uncanny and unnerving for me to see that. And he did die. But other than that, I don't see traumatic death I never have in my line of work. I mean, I've seen like people bleeding out and stuff like that, but that's not necessarily traumatic. Wow, what is happening? Washington State is sunny and warm while we're trying to survive storms and extreme weather event after extreme weather event in California. I know. Hi, Nurse Penny. I'm watching your videos from Paris, France. Hi, Eva. Bonjour. Hello, greetings from Germany. Hello there. I absolutely love your content. Thanks for making it. Thank you. I love that. I love that little emoji. That's so cute. My grandfather had dementia and I was 13, distanced myself from him because I couldn't bear to watch him leave. What could I have done different? I've struggled with guilt ever since. So, oh, Debbie, so sorry that you're struggling with guilt. First of all, I want to let you know that people seem to have a way of waiting for people to arrive or waiting for people to leave before they let go. It's very weird. It seems like they have control over it. And I always say, if you weren't present when your person died, they didn't need you to be there. A lot of times, people aren't comfortable dying around other people, and they'll wait until everybody leaves. It's normal for a 13-year-old to not want to be around somebody who's got dementia, who's dying. That is normal. You're 13. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that at all. If your grandfather needed you to be there, he would have hung on and waited for you to be there. You don't need to feel guilty about that. And this another reason why I am on social media is because I really feel strongly that if people are able to talk about death and understand realistically what death and dying looks like, then they aren't going to be afraid to be with somebody when they're dying. And I've seen it so many times when people are like, oh, I don't want to see him. He's dying. He looks different. Yeah, they look different, but they're still your person. And if you are prepared for that, then it's easier to be around them. Hi from South Africa. I love your videos. Really helps to demystify the dying process. Thank you so much. I watched my father die after being shot with a 12-gauge shotgun. He was standing outside of a mobile home and someone inside the house accidentally discharged the weapon and it went through the wall. Oh my God, that's tragic. Wow, that is awful. So sorry. Hi, Margaret in Scotland. Hello there. Getting a lot of international visitors today. It's awesome. That is awesome. I love to see all the different places that people are coming from. Megan, what is that? I keep wondering what that little emoji is. I always think it looks like a video camera, but I don't think that's what it is. Steph, you're in Canada. Hello there. I am close to Canada. I am very close to Canada. Our property borders National Forest, which is 18 miles to Canada. Canada. That's hugging, two people hugging. It's two people hugging, huh? Does not look like that. It looks like a video camera. Huh. So interesting. I guess I just can't tell what it is. I always tell people I feel like I'm half Canadian because my mom was Canadian before she became an American citizen, which was after I was born. I my mom was born in Fanisdale, Manitoba. Oh, a hug, but maybe because I have an Android and you have an iPhone. Oh, maybe. How many people do you see on a normal basis in a hospice home? And may I ask you, and I may ask how you treat patients before they pass on. In a hospice, I'm not sure what you mean by that. In a hospice house, inpatient care center, usually the nurse takes care of 5 patients, about 5 or 6 patients at a time. I've had more than that when I was in an inpatient unit. As a hospice case manager, I had 15, 16 on my caseload. How we treat them before they die is we educate, we manage their symptoms, give them medications to make them comfortable if they're having any pain or any other kind of symptom. I'm in Oregon and we got more sunshine than you. Send the sunshine to New England. It's 34. 34, really? Wow. I'm a funeral director from the UK and I run bereavement groups. Oh, that's very cool. I love your videos. They educate me and give me so much peace. Much love. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm on all the other socials as well, guys. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and now Clapper, Hospice Nurse Penny on all the other socials. I will be doing a retreat with my friend Hospice Nurse Julie in September in Boone, North Carolina. It's a weekend thing, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be really, really fun. So if you're in Boone, North Carolina, or near North Carolina, or want to travel to North Carolina, the link is in my bio. Oh, Steph, thanks for following me on Facebook. Thank you so much for all your help and information. Thank you. Sunny in South Carolina, but barely hitting 60. Your videos are very much needed. Thank you. Thank you for saying. Some of my platforms are the same videos, some are different. I do want to start doing some more longer videos for YouTube. I just haven't had the time to do that. I did speak at a symposium, an end of life symposium in Las Vegas in February, and I'm just waiting to get the video of that and post it on YouTube. I'm real excited about that. Love your Insta. Thank you. I like my Instagram. I like posting stories on my Instagram. I don't keep up with it as much as I like to, but I try to. try to change things up. So if you're following me across the platforms, it's not the same old boring, tired content. End of life doula and advanced care planning educator for a rural hospice in Oregon. I refer patients and families to your channel daily. Thank you. Thank you, Sedona Sky. Thank you so much. How do you handle a family member blinded by grief who refuses to listen to anyone, constantly fighting, isn't the patient representative, and is demonizing everyone who is going with patient wishes? So again, I mean, this is where the person needs to be taken aside and had it explained to them that the patient's wishes are being honored and carried out. And if they cannot accept and respect that, they can't be around. I mean, you do have to kind of make those harsh decisions sometimes. And I've I've seen families that have had to do that, you know, and it's hard. But I had a family that the son who had been living with the mom was doing things that were actually bordering on harmful to her and not respecting the wishes of the daughters who were the decision makers, and they had to have him physically removed because he would not behave himself. Thank you. My person died 5 months ago from breast cancer. I was not prepared for the actively dying and especially change in breathing, but watching you and Nurse Julie has helped educate me. Oh, Jennifer, I'm so happy to know that we were helpful to you. I think it's so important for people to know what to expect when their person is dying. It's so easy to look at somebody who's dying and they're not responding anymore. They're not talking, they're not moving, and it's easy to think of them as not your person anymore. And they still are, and they can still hear your voice up until the time of death. They can hear all of us. And one thing I really hate is when people take care of a dying person who's unresponsive, actively dying, and they don't let them know what they're doing ahead of time. They don't tell them. And I remember seeing a woman who was actively dying, unresponsive. Eyes were partially open, as they often are, mouth was hanging open. And the nurse walked up with some spray, like artificial saliva, and sprayed it in her mouth without telling her that she was going to do that. She just walked up and went psh, psh, in her mouth. And the patient was like, and she was like dying and unresponsive, but she responded to that. And I was like, God, why? Like, you got to tell people what you were going to do. Why was the question about the worst thing you've ever seen taken down? Triggering? Was it that bad? What about the worst thing that you're actually comfortable talking about? Why was the question about the worst thing you've ever seen taken down? Triggering? Was it that bad? Was it, what about the worst thing that you're actually comfortable talking about? YouTube took it down because I did not try typing it again. Yeah, I don't take comments down at all. Megan's my moderator, and so she has some filters set. But I don't, if she didn't take it down, I certainly didn't. And the worst thing that I've ever seen, if you want to know the worst thing I've ever seen, the worst thing I've ever seen, I can't think of one particular situation right now. I mean, I've seen some bad things. Believe me, I've seen like really horrible, horrible tumors and things like that on people. I've seen people that had fungating breast cancer that went all the way around like this, a massive wound that stunk and was painful and horrible looking. I've seen that. I saw a guy with a tumor on his face where his eyeball ended up right here. I saw a guy that wasn't on hospice for this, but had been in a accident when he was in his 20s. A tree fell on him. He was a logger, and he had no body from his belly button down. Literally no body from his belly button down. He was in his 50s and just had a lot of health issues, you know, because he had a nephrostomy and he had a colostomy. And so, you know, he just had a lot of health issues his whole life. So he just had infections and things like that. And so he was just dying because he was in his 50s and had lived that long in that situation. But one of the worst things is, you know, seeing families who are struggling and they're not able to be on the same page about how to take care of the person, and they are having to be eliminated from the patient care environment because they can't keep their mouths shut and won't respect and honor the choices that are being made on the behalf of the person that's dying. Those things are pretty bad. I love your outfit. Thank you. It was just a question about the worst thing she's ever seen in hospice. That's weird that YouTube took that down, but it's kind of weird how they, uh, you know, I did a video the other day. I posted it on all my socials. You might have seen it on my YouTube channel, and it's basically a voiceover with this guy and lip syncing, and he's talking about how you're going down the road of life, and then life goes right turn, motherfucker, you know, something like that, you know. And I bleeped it on, I don't bleep things on TikTok, but I do on Instagram and Facebook. Usually we'll bleep out the swear words because they don't like swear words. And I bleeped it. There's 3 swear words. I bleeped all of them out. And Instagram gave me a violation, a community guideline violation. They didn't take the video down, but they won't monetize it. And I was like, that is like an kind of like an inspirational video, because what I put on there is every hospice patient basically talks about how you're going through life, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get thrown like you get thrown a curveball basically, you know, which happens to everyone who goes on hospice. And anyway, they demonetized it, and so I appealed it, and they were like, "Yeah, we reviewed it again, and we still find it doesn't meet our community guidelines." I was like, "Okay, I don't understand why, because it's supposed to be inspirational, but whatever." What's my favorite drink? My favorite drink? Well, I'm sober, so I don't drink alcohol, and I like. What do I like? What's my favorite drink? I drink a lot of diet root beer, and I like, trying to think. Oh, one of my favorite drinks is hop water. I love hop water. What's my favorite song? Mm. Yeah, the one about breadsticks at the Olive Garden. Yeah, life isn't endless. It's not breadsticks at Olive Garden. That's what it. Yeah. What's my favorite song? I have so many different favorite songs. If you ask me on another day, I'll have a different song than I have today. Right now, the one that comes to mind is "Spirits Having Flown" um by the Bee Gees. But also, I love the song "Ceilings," which I just downloaded, and I've been like listening to it and singing it constantly. To be clear, it wasn't me that put it up, so I'm guessing they removed it themselves. Oh, maybe they did. I took care on my Nana. She was on hospice. She was active until she went to sleep and slept for 3 days before passing. I think being there for her, taking care of her, helped me deal with her passing. Favorite color? Pink. Her favorite drink is removed from her mind as best as possible. Hang in there, Penny. Yeah, thank you. My favorite drink is an old fashioned, to be honest. That's my favorite. With the Amareno cherry in it. Top shelf whiskey. That's my favorite drink. Pear martini, peartini, Italian margarita. There you go. Those are my favorite drinks. How long, once someone's digestion starts going, can they live? People can live for a really long time. You know, one of the earliest signs of dying is losing their appetite. Their digestion starts to shut down, and they're just not hungry anymore. That happens months before their death. But as far as when they stop eating, people can live for, you know, like 3 weeks or so without eating anything. And sometimes we see people like with dementia in nursing homes live for a really long time on a teaspoon of Ensure a day. It's amazing how long they can live. They're not moving around anymore. They don't need those calories and they can live for a pretty long time. Were there cases where the patient had no relatives at all that would have visited him, her, especially in their final moments? Yes, yes, that is true. I have had cases of people who had no relatives. Um, they have a guardian ad litem, so that's a court-appointed guardian to make their decisions. Sometimes guardian ad litems will visit, but not very often because they have so many people that they're guardians for. Usually those people are going to be in nursing homes or adult family homes. And in an adult family home, so in Washington State, we have adult family homes where they can have, I think, 6 or maybe 8 patients at the most. And the staff get to be pretty close with the people who live there. So they do have the staff that take care of them. But we also have volunteers in hospice. We also have volunteers. Would you like me to super chat? What is super chat? I'm still new to the YouTube live thing, so I don't know what a super chat is. But thanks for the gift. I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. Yeah. Yes, I work in memory care and we go through 20 plus insures a day. Yeah. Yeah, we do have volunteers in hospice. We are required to have volunteers. You send money and your chat is highlighted. Oh, I see. Interesting. I super chatted. I don't have a lot of money, but there you go. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I started a website back in, I want to say it was in 2002, to raise money for nursing school. I became a nurse when I was in my 40s as a result of getting a divorce. And I started a website back then called helpmeleavemyhusband.com. I was trying to raise money for nursing school so that I could get divorced because I didn't have any career behind me. I'd been a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. And so I decided to go to nursing school. And he was in the military. We didn't really qualify for a lot of financial aid. Oh, thank you so much, Mike. That's so nice. Thanks for backing Hazelnut. That is so sweet. Thank you very much. Yeah, I invented GoFundMe. Yeah, so I started this website called helpmeleavemyhusband.com. And this was before Facebook. I mean, this was before anything. There was I think LiveJournal was the big thing back there where people would blog things. And so I started this website to raise money. My husband was in the military, didn't get a lot of financial aid. He knew we were getting divorced. This wasn't like I wasn't springing this on him. This was money to help me go through nursing school because we didn't qualify for financial aid. And so I created this website, helpmeleavemyhusband.com. And I asked people just to give me $1 or $2. I was like, just send $1 or $2 if you like what you see on here. And I blogged and I answered, I got a lot of hate mail, a lot of hate emails from people who were, just disgusted that I was asking for money, even though I was like, just send $1 or $2. If if you like what you see, if you're interested and you want to help me, just send $1 or $2. But it was, I always say it was famous and it was infamous because it was controversial and it got worldwide attention. And I was on The View and I was on The Other Half with Mario Lopez and I was on Irish National Radio and London National Radio. My website was mentioned in Time Magazine and London Times, and I did local television shows and Fox National News before it was Fox National News. And it was fun. And then the accountability helped me get through nursing school, and it was really fun. I only raised about a couple $1,000. But it's funny because I got so much bad press for this internet panhandling. And then it wasn't long after that GoFundMe became a thing. And so for those of you who use GoFundMe, you're welcome. Because I started that bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't start it, but I definitely was a pioneer of internet panhandling. All that to say, thank you for the $1 because they add up. And thank you so much. Um, let's see. I done home health for over 30 years and I've watched a lot of people die and it's not easy watching a loved one die. No, it's not. It's not easy. It's never easy to watch the person that you love die. It's always sad. It's always going to be sad, but it's going to be easier if you're not scared. So if you're sad, you're sad. You're going to be sad. But to be sad and scared, that's even worse because then you have this traumatic memory of the experience and how scary it was to be with your dying person. What type of movie genres do you like? I mean, I like mysteries a lot, suspense. If I was gonna like talk about my favorite movies, I would say that like Titanic is definitely up there. I like funny movies. I love sci-fi movies. The Fifth Element is a favorite of mine. Death Becomes Her, dark humor. I love that. I loved Eurovision. That's probably my most recent favorite movie was Eurovision. I loved Eurovision. What Dreams May Come is one of my favorites. Hazelnut, I want to say that I think you're the one that's in France, right? And your emojis are just fucking awesome. I love them. They're so cool. Do I read a lot? I listen to books on tape a lot. I live about 6.5 hours away from my grandchildren and my mom and my sister and brother. And so I travel over the mountains about 6.5 hours each way, at least once a month. And I listen to books on tape. And I also listen to books on tape at night. So I consume a lot of books. I don't read a lot of books, but I consume them by listening to books on tape. And I most recently listened to the one by Jeanette McCurdy. I'm glad my mother died. It was fucking amazing. It's the best book. You've got to read it. It's so good. I want her publisher to publish my book. I'm just like getting ready to reach out to them and say, I really want you to publish my book because it's right in that genre of, dark humor, but also life lessons. How long did it take you to get over the sadness of people dying in hospice? I've never experienced sadness from people dying in hospice as far as sadness over the person dying, because that is the expected outcome. And it's a gift. Like, it's an honor to be able to be there at this sacred time and to help people go through that end of life journey with comfort and dignity. That is rewarding. So the rewarding part of the job outweighs the sadness always. Like, always, it feels like to be able to do that for somebody is it's just so rewarding. You expect them to die, and so you don't really necessarily feel sad when they die. Who should play you in the movie about your life as a hospice nurse? Um, so I'm just like off the top of my head when I saw that comment, the first thought I had was Anna Kendrick. I'm going to say Anna Kendrick. And the reason why I say Anna Kendrick is because my daughter looks just like Anna Kendrick, like super, super, super looks like Anna Kendrick. And my daughter, and that's her right there, by the way. You can see her holding the little baby. That's my youngest daughter. And she looks like Anna Kendrick. And so I'm thinking, well, because she looks like Anna Kendrick and she's my mini me, she looks like me, then Anna Kendrick would look like me when I was younger. Or Sandra Bullock, because I've been compared to Sandra Bullock. Heather Locklear, no. Have you seen Megan and Wednesday? Do you believe in the afterlife? I do. I do believe in the afterlife because I've seen so many people who are visioning their deceased loved ones and pets. And my dad came to me after he died in the form of energy. So I do. The worst part of helping with the person that has died is putting in their false teeth. I hate handling people's teeth. Yeah, well, they're not going to stay in either because the muzzles in their face don't work anymore. And you can't shut the mouth. It won't stay shut unless you tie it with a bandage. So yeah, putting false teeth in. People, when they die, their face loses shape. These teeth just don't stay in. In hospice, has anyone survived and not gone through death? So I've had a couple of people who have actually graduated from hospice and were no longer terminal, but that's two in a very long history of hospice that of patients that I've cared for. For the most part, when we discharge from hospice, a person is no longer meeting the hospice eligibility of a life expectancy of 6 months or less, but they do still have a terminal condition. But I've had two that did not, um, they did not have a terminal condition anymore. One had had a stroke and he recovered completely, and the other one had cancer that went into complete remission. And yes, I am 60 years old, and I've been on for an hour and 5 minutes, so I'm actually going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. Please also look for me on any of the other platforms that you currently use. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Clapper, and TikTok as Hospice Nurse Penny on all of those platforms. All one word, Hospice Nurse Penny. So make sure you follow me on my other socials if you're on them. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, I really am 60 years old. I will be 61 this year. I'm more than 60. I'm 60 and a half. Oh my God. But you know what? It's cool. Life is good. I always say it's not fun to look older, but I'm glad to get older because it sure beats the alternative. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you being on this journey with me. Hope your Sunday is really great for those of you experiencing stormy weather. I hope it doesn't get too bad for you.